Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Steve Sumter and Tracy Brooks today. Steve is a listener that had reached out with an encounter that he wanted to share. And after I read the email, I reached right back out to Steve and I was like, oh man, yeah, we got to talk on the podcast. So thankfully, Steve was okay with coming on and brought Tracy along because Tracy's got some interesting things to share as well. We'll be talking about California and Oregon today. So Steve and Tracy, welcome to the show. How are you both doing tonight?
Very well.
Really good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'd say let's get right into it. Sounds like we've got a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to you guys. And we're going to start with the first thing that was experienced. So go ahead, guys. I'll let you take over from here and I'll be listening.
Okay. Yeah, my first encounter happened when I was 18 years old, and that was in Truckee, California. It's 14 miles from Lake Tahoe. Well, it was the last day of school, and a weekend was coming up. And I call him my little brother, but he was actually my mom's boyfriend's son. He went with me, and a friend of mine, Danny, went with us. And we drove from Truckee to Bird Eye, California, and took a dirt road as far as we could possibly drive it until we couldn't drive no more. And
Steve, you there? What in the world just happened?
I'm here.
Okay. No, that was really weird, man. We just had a total audio dropout. Okay. So that's no matter.
Look at me. I have electronic things happen to me.
My phone just went.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, I have stuff happen. I have stuff happen to me all the time too. So we'll make quite the pair tonight of
light bulbs.
You do. Wow.
Yeah,
that's,
he does.
Tracy, that's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I know. I'm kind of a wild.
All right. Well, we're going to try to make this happen. This is going to be a wild one. Okay. So the last thing I heard, Steve, was you and your friends were driving from Truckee to Bird Eye, I believe.
Bird Eye, yeah. And we just took a dirt road all the way as far as we could go. And we found this meadow where we couldn't drive any further. This meadow with a fire pit in the middle of it. And we camped there. Well, my friend Danny had those bottle rockets he was talking about. So we decided to shoot them off. And, oh, man, after about, 20 minutes after we shot them off, something at the end of this meadow, we heard this screaming. And this one, it was probably about a 60-foot tree, started rocking back and forth real fast. And this thing wouldn't stop screaming. I can't describe the scream. It was like a loud scream with a growl in it, and also
like every animal.
I don't know what it was. It was just weird. But anyway, this thing was pissed. And they ran into the car and locked the door and left me out there. So I just went by the campfire and just started huddling next to it. I could hear this thing walking around the whole meadow around our camp. So needless to say, I didn't get much sleep that night.
Oh my goodness. Let me make sure I get that right. So you hear something scream They lock you out of the car, and you're just pretty much hanging out by the fire while it's like pacing back and forth.
And they're in the car, locked the doors. You know what I mean?
My goodness.
Real good. Wouldn't let me in. Scared of it. Anyway, yeah, I could hear this thing breaking branches and limbs all around us all night long. As that tree was shaking, I could see the sky behind the tree, but I could also see below it a little bit because there was sort of a moonlight, not a full moon, but partial moon. And I could see the silhouette of this thing rocking this tree back and forth. It was huge. And it was standing up. It was not a bear.
Could you get a feel as to how tall it may have been by the silhouette that you saw?
9 feet, maybe.
Mm.
Maybe taller. I don't know. It was huge. And wide. You could see the black outline of the body. It was just huge and wide.
Oof.
And that scream's got me.
Yeah, sure.
It scared me.
Could you hear any other sounds that night around you at all?
Just the breaking of the limbs and the branches and stuff as it was walking around the whole perimeter of the meadow.
So everything else was pretty quiet, then?
Everything was quiet. It was really quiet. It did not like those bottle rockets, I'm sure.
So then so you guys drove out of there, you hauled back home. So did you tell your parents when you got home, or how did that go down?
It didn't go over very well. They all said, you guys were drinking, and we weren't.
I've still never had any.
They did not believe it. But we knew there was something there.
Mass hallucinations don't occur very often either.
No.
Right.
It was just a weird situation.
Did you ever go back to that area, Steve?
I did not. No, I did not.
Hmm.
It didn't want us there. I could feel that. Shooting those bottle rockets off really made it mad.
Oh, I mean, that was 100% it. Yeah, the bottle rockets did not help the situation.
Yeah. Did not help. No.
What approximate year was that, Steve?
That was in 1978.
Oh my goodness! Wow, yeah, that's the year for Bigfoot, dude. I mean, a lot of Bigfoot activity happened in 1978 for some reason.
I had just turned 18.
Okay, wow, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so how did that affect your life after you experienced it? Did it put you down the road towards Bigfoot, or were you kind of like, I don't want anything else to do with this?
Did. No, I was totally interested in it. I wanted to figure out what it was, but there was really not much I could do about it. I didn't want to go back there. That was off limits to me. But yeah, then after that, I moved to Oregon. I lived there before, but I moved back to Oregon in a little town called Crescent, Oregon. Then I moved to Gilchrist, Oregon. Well, the next encounter happened when I was taking my dog for a walk and with my friends right down the street here, about a quarter mile. And it was right behind a friend of mine's house, Robert, and he's on BLM land. But he had this trail that he'd walk all the time with his dog. And so we decided to take the dogs for a walk. Well, about halfway through, there's this little area that's open up, and there's a whole bunch of fallen trees where we can sit and just, sit on the fallen trees and let the dogs run. Well, I was looking around, and there was something caught my eye. It was these two trees, probably about 40, 50 feet high, woven in between two other trees into a big X. I saw that. The weird thing is there was still root wads attached to these things, and they were still green. And Robert told me kids did that. Kids did not do that. And there's no roads back there. I took her to this area and her little granddaughter, and she saw all this stuff But when we went back, it was about a year later when I took her back. And that big X now looked like a giant, I don't know, dream catcher of some sort. Because other stuff was put in it.
Yeah, branches woven in it.
It was just weird.
Like a nest.
I never saw anything, but I started taking pictures of these things. And when I got back to my house, I was going through the photos, and there was one in the photo watching us.
Really?
Yeah.
It was an adult one, though.
It was an adult. I think it was watching little ones. I'm not sure. Because in the photo, you can almost see a littler one right below it.
The one Skylar I saw was like a young one. I'm sure of it.
Because
yeah.
Right afterwards, that's when I saw that thing. It was just getting dark. Not really dark, but it was dusk. And I saw this thing wobbling by my gate, and it was about 7 foot tall, 6.5, 7 foot tall, hunched over, covered in red hair, kind of an orange color. And I ran out there to see what it was. It was gone, and there's nowhere for it to go. I don't know where it went. It just freaked me out. And then here Tracy was there the next day.
Yeah, so I took my granddaughter walking up this road, like our little gravel road that we live on. Off of it is a spur road that takes you out to the pipeline. And my granddaughter and I would take walks and go out that way all the time. Well, we got to this clearing where the road forks off, and across that little clearing, there was this Sasquatch peeking around a tree at us. And I stopped and I was like, Skylar, do you see that? And she's like, what? And I pointed it out to her, and it just kept peeking at us. And I was like, do you see that now? And she's like, yeah. And I said, I think it's time we go home. So we just turned and came back. But later that day, I was telling Steve about it. And that's when he told me that the night before he had seen it walk past his gate. It was the same one, most likely.
Orange hair.
Yeah, it was kind of like
orangutan hair.
Yeah, like an orangutan would be colored, only like darker towards the skin, like, but the ends were like orangey.
3
like,
inches, 4 inches long, maybe.
Yeah, it was big though.
It was huge.
My granddaughter was probably 5 or 6, so that was probably 6 or 7 years, I think, ago now. But we hear wood knocks and screaming and stuff in here all the time. And there's times I can smell it when I walk out of my door. And my dog won't go out, and it's just this horrendous, wretched
death smell.
Well, yeah. I mean, I grew up out in the forest, so I kind of know what bears and the different scents of the animals. Elk stink, too, during certain times. But I know the stinks of the different critters. And this is like something lovely all of its own. It's just stink. And I've grown up out in the woods. I was like, yeah, if you look Swiss Home up on Google Maps and just start going out from it, all it is mountains around there. And that's where I grew up.
Well, us too.
And so, yeah, I've been around it. I know the smell of it. It'll be close enough I can smell it when I come out my door some nights.
Yeah, I don't know if they emit that odor because they can or if they've been rolling in something. Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
And stuff. Yeah, it probably smells awesome to them.
Perfume.
Yeah, like look what I got.
Tracy, how big would you estimate that the Sasquatch was that was peeking at you and your granddaughter?
Well, I was probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 yards away. But my guess is because the tree was probably the size around of a dinner plate, is my guess. And its head was at least that big around. And it was probably 6, 7 feet tall off the ground, is my guess.
Hard to tell in trees.
Well, and it's peeking around it, too. So, I mean, I'm just saying probably 6, 7 feet tall, the head peeking out of the tree, from behind the tree.
Yeah, when I seen it, it looked to be about 6.5 feet tall from where I was sitting, but it was hunched over. So I'm
And
sure
I
it
couldn't
was
tell.
about 7 foot tall.
I couldn't tell it's like its body posture so much is that it just kept peeking from behind this tree at us.
Right.
Like
Really?
holding on to the side of the tree and looking. Yeah.
Good thing it didn't come and grab you.
Well, see, that's what I mean, though. I've been around them all my life. That one place I can't. I can hear them.
Once you've seen these things, you're stuck with them.
Well,
And that's not fun.
well, they've given everybody such a fear factor of everything, and they've been here for thousands of years, and people lived amongst
They
them
don't
for
like it
thousands
because
of years.
it's done to the earth. You know what I mean?
Right, but I'm not in that crew, so I get along with them. They come to my camp. This one place is out in the middle of nowhere that I go camping all the time, and I can hear them across the creek up this little draw. It's not actual words or anything, but you can hear the voices and laughing, and I mean it's like a family. They're like a family. They live together as a family unit. Like where I go
Tracy,
camping at.
have you heard anything else that comes close to what you hear when you're out there camping?
Sometimes it,
Only once in a while, but most of the time when they're in this close to people, they're up to something, you know. They're looking for a dog chained up outside or chickens or
cats or whatever.
yeah, whatever they can grab a hold of easy. They don't usually come in this close, so it's
They are
different noises.
close to us.
You hear tree knocks and stuff like close enough you can almost feel it in the air.
But we are pretty rural.
Steve, I wanted to ask you about something. So first off, you guys are saying this happened about 6 to 7 years ago, so pretty recent.
Maybe
Well,
five,
six.
6 years ago.
Okay,
maybe.
okay. Also, Steve, you're saying you have a photo that has a Bigfoot captured in the photo?
Yeah, it was watching us, and there was none of us smelt anything. The dogs didn't even know.
Wow.
It was
So it had to have been upwind from us.
kind of down behind a little embankment. It looked like.
It was underneath this big old arch that had been pulled down. This tree was pulled down into an arch, and it was underneath that in the bushes.
Do you still have that?
I do. I'll send it to you.
I mean, I
still
was
have a
just
picture.
going to ask if you would be able to. I would love to be able to take a look at that. That sounds extremely interesting.
I'll send you the pictures of the trees that are all bunched in, woven in between each other too.
Okay.
And this teepee thing that was on.
Is that something I'd be able to share on, like in the YouTube version?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
So
Yeah, I've got 4, 5, 6 pictures.
You have a picture of that footprint I have too, don't you?
No.
You don't have a picture of that?
Tracy's got a plaster cast of one of these things' feet, and it's huge.
Yeah, it was found in the Cottage Grove lake bed in the mud, and there was like
really?
122 footprints in a row or something that were cast.
You have part of the
And
London
my friend
Trackway.
Yeah, I have one of the footprints. My friend was one of the ones that put the plaster in the footprints, and he kept a few of them. And I was lucky enough to get one for Christmas one year.
I
That's
got
awesome.
a cast of the cast.
Jeff Meldrum, the professor at Idaho State University, he has most of that trackway, I guess.
Oh, really?
They got sent
Are
to
you
him.
are you friends with Tobe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Cool. I am too. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I figured like it's not one of those things that too many people actually admit they're into. So.
Right. When it happens to you, you have no choice.
Actually, him and I went adventuring.
Oh, really?
I tried to take him to that place I go camping, and he ended up with a flat tire like a half a mile away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we were just
And-
about it.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. We never made it up there, but he got to talk to another friend of mine, this elderly lady that she took him to get air in his tire, and he got to talk to her for a while too. That she grew up there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty much any of the old timers and stuff have it.
Yeah, you can see dermal ridges in this print.
Wow.
It's a thing of beauty. Yeah, I keep it
It's a
like
perfect print.
wrapped in bubble wrap, but
She's
like,
got-
I'll take it out and take a picture and send.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Tracy.
I'll
And
take a picture.
sorry, have you shared that area where you go camping in? Is that a place where we're sharing where the location is, or are we keeping that kind of private?
Not so much.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up over in the Crescent Deadwood area, and it's
Deadwood.
up in the mountains from there.
Okay, got it. Yep, that's
Near
enough.
Mapleton.
Yeah, yeah.
So Deadwood,
'Cause,
Oregon.
like I said, I've been going there for years, and I've seen them walk down the road like up above because it's a big meadow, and it's along the creek, and I can hear them over like this other creek comes down the hill, and I can hear the echo of their voices and laughing and stuff come down that little draw.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't want to disturb anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I wouldn't.
I can
wouldn't
still
either.
go
Yeah.
there. I don't feel any kind of distress or any kind of thing when I go there. I've been going there for years by myself even, and like the only encounters I've had are they've been in my camp. I leave stuff out,
They've thrown
and
rocks.
it's like they know what I can share, and they're happy with that I shared. Like that's how I get treated. And like I don't want to do anything that causes that to be interrupted.
Absolutely. Gilchrist, so you guys still dealing with things over there in current day?
Oh, we hear things all the time.
Yeah, well, it's only been I've been home for a week from my mom's. Like, so within the last week, it was probably 1:00 in the morning because my boyfriend works until 2:30. So I was taking the dog outside, and he got almost to the edge of the deck, and he wouldn't go any further, and it smelled like a pig had rolled in vomit and climbed out of the garbage can. It was horrible.
Yeah, I know that smell.
And that was just within the last week.
Wow. Ooh.
Oh, they're around. This is the time to come back, actually.
Well, it's cold. They don't have the regular food sources that are usually available.
You tend to follow the deer around. I know that.
I heard that
Well, this
in
is the time too. They
Oak
head
Ridge.
over. Yeah, this is the time they head over that way. I think.
Yeah, the Oak Ridge area is pretty forest primeval.
Well, it doesn't get as cold as it does up
No.
here either.
No, and they do end up going that way, I'm sure.
Well, it's the wet side of the mountain too. There's always water.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. So there's always a water source over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, over on the Oak Ridge side of the mountains. Up here,
It's kind of far between, but
there's the Deschutes River, and
little shoots
yeah, there's like
and little offshoots.
yeah, but it's not like that side of the hill where it's wet all the
Yeah,
time.
it surprised me how close they were to people.
They get in.
I mean, they're within walking distance of the neighbors.
Really?
And here too, yeah, they could easily just hop and skip and jump right to my house.
Oh yeah, and he has
I heard them around my house. I heard one.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I know there's no way that somebody could just walk over the top of my fence, but I heard something do it, and then I heard something go wah really loud, and it freaked me out. So I went in the house.
Oh man, so it like walked right over your fence, you're saying?
It stepped right over my fence. The fence is
Wow.
probably about 4 feet, 4.5 feet high, but it just walked right over the top of it. Because I didn't hear no chain rattle or nothing on the fence. It just walked right over the top of it.
Have you talked to any of your neighbors to see if they've been experiencing weird things as well?
I'm afraid they're going to think I'm nuts.
I live amongst lunatics.
Sure.
But really, I haven't really talked to too many people.
Okay.
A few people I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really not scared of people thinking I'm crazy.
I don't care what they think of me, but I just don't want them to, show any weirdness to my family.
You can always
Unless they're listening right now.
you can always bust out the, hey, have you ever seen any weird stuff around here? That's a pretty easy one,
I've
right?
tried that with people. And, they go, oh yeah, I've you for years. You finally lost it. That's what they do. You know, it makes me mad that then I think, oh well, it doesn't bother me. At least I know what I saw.
Absolutely.
And I know stuff too. I'm not the only one that saw the same thing. You know? Well, I will send you that picture of the face.
Oh,
you can
yes,
see the face
thank you.
perfectly well.
Do you mind if I ask you about some certain areas in this region, just to see if you've heard anything about the areas regarding Bigfoot? Okay.
Sure.
Here we go.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of anything regarding, there's a small lake over by west of Waldo Lake called Spirit Lake? Have you ever heard of that area?
Yeah.
Have you heard of anything weird happening there?
Not really.
Okay.
But there are several different lakes around here that I've heard weird things about.
Oh, really?
All in the same general region.
Quinn Meadows is near one of those high lakes up there. And that's where my sister was horse camping with. They found footprints around the trailers.
Where's that one cinder pit? It's like the red cinders up there in the hills off the 60.
The cinder.
Yeah, there's like a pit.
Yeah, that's on Highway 58.
Okay, well that road, we were driving up it one day. Even Lloyd saw it. He had to admit to me that he saw that thing across the road. There was one there, yeah. And that was just last summer.
That's the cutoff road from Crescent to Crescent Lake.
Oh, okay, and it goes across to Gilchrist.
The Cascade Lakes Highway. The Cascade Lakes Highway turns off of that road.
Okay,
so then it'll take you 258.
We were in the hills off of that road, but it's the same one that you turn to go to the Cascade Lakes, where like Waldo Lake and stuff is just on the edge of where all those lakes are.
Okay.
So like we're in that general area. Last summer, we saw one run across the road about 100 yards in front of us, but it was broad daylight, and there was no way that it could have been anything but exactly what it was. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's wild.
And my boy's a terrible skeptic of anything like that. He's always telling me I'm crazy and that kind of shit. And so I made him admit to me that he saw it too. So that tells you something.
That's wild. I mean, I've heard of road crossings even on 58.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And on 97.
They're all over, actually. People just don't really look. They're too scared once they find them. They're all freaked out. Well, it's like any other animal. Yeah, they're an animal. You got to treat them with respect like you would any other animal. I wouldn't walk up on a bull elk and try to like pet it either. You know, there's things wild animals do, and you just if you have that kind of respect for them.
I've seen people try.
How about the Subtle Lake area? Have you ever heard of anything up there?
I have heard stuff about the Subtle Lake. I've heard people talk about things being thrown in the lake right next to them.
Oh, really?
Big rocks. And they couldn't fish because big rocks. And they say it wasn't rolling down no hill, but it was thrown through the trees.
Right. That's how that was at night.
And they weren't little. So they couldn't fish.
That's really interesting. That's an area I've been hearing a lot about. Yeah.
There's a lot of activity around there. Around everywhere around here.
Like anywhere in this area, you pick a location and there's stuff going on. It is, I don't know what it is.
like this one, I saw this one video, and it was right out here going towards Christmas Valley on Highway 31 near Lapine.
Okay.
And these people got this video of this Bigfoot running through the, what is those trees called?
Juniper.
Juniper trees. And these things go to these trees and eat the berries off of them to get drunk, I guess. But they got a video of this thing running from them, and it got away.
I'm gonna look that. I think I found the video. I'm gonna watch this after the interview, but it looks like it's from 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I don't think I've ever seen that one. That's very interesting. So we'll check that out later.
Oh yeah, you can see it, but you really can't see its face, but you can see its legs and stuff walking through the trees, and then running really fast.
I've had them walk down the road up at that camp spot. I've had them walk no other, right? No other houses around for miles, and see one walk by on the road. It's kind of a trip.
Yeah.
It makes you feel small.
Have you heard anything over by the McKenzie Bridge area?
Not the bridge itself. No, I've heard things around that area. Yeah.
Blue River and like up the mountain from Blue River, I've heard some stories, and that's kind of the same area as the crow flies.
Gotcha.
But yeah, a lot of sightings on 58.
And I grew up over where there was a whole lot of old timers that were timber fallers and had been in the woods for like 35 years, you know. They had seen everything.
Really?
And I heard lots of stories from the old guys. Yeah, I worked in a little restaurant, and they loved to babble, you know, over coffee in the morning. So I heard all kinds of really amazing things, honestly.
Do you remember any of the things they would share with you, like any of the things they would see, or?
Oh, well, I mean, they just they'd have to leave their saw and go for a walk and be squatted down and see things walk by, and you know, things would move. Trees, like big branches that shouldn't have moved, were like drugged to a pile, and different things. Like I don't know all of them. If I sat and really thought, I could probably remember a lot more of them. But this one old guy, he was always telling me stories, different things he'd saw. And yeah, he saw a mother with a baby at one point, but that was probably, wow, I don't even know if I was born yet, honestly. Probably like the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, to maybe the mid 70s, like the story I heard.
My dad was telling me, he was a logger, and he would tell me things about things out in the woods in the middle of the night on these ridges that were walking around screaming and yelling all night long, and he didn't like it. So he'd shoot his gun into the air, and it would stop him for a while, but he didn't know what it was.
Do you think that the rangers and the forestry workers are aware of what's in the woods as well?
I think a lot of them are.
Yeah. If they aren't, they don't spend enough time doing their job. It sounds like to me.
A lot of them are totally aware of these things.
They'd have
to
be.
A lot of them help cover these things up. I don't know why. Why are they trying to cover this stuff up? I don't understand that.
It's just like spaceships, or you know, they have a scare tactic to make everybody afraid of it, and
they have
crazy if you say anything.
A certain amount of people that go missing every year. That's on their agenda.
There's a stigma to it, you know. Like most people,
would they make a deal with someone?
It's likely. You know.
Do you think there is a large amount of people that go missing every year in this region?
There are a lot of people. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, there was just like in the last 5 years that I can remember, there's been like 3 people just at Crater Lake went missing. Yep.
Oh wow.
To my knowledge, To my knowledge, they were never found.
Some were, but
Oh, really?
all they found was the bones and
Well, yeah.
Just the did you say
and it
just
wasn't
the
too far
bones?
from where they were looking. Just the bones, and it was in a sitting position.
Are you serious?
With parts of the clothing attached to it still. Yeah.
And that's just that one
That's just
place.
one
place. 3 of them. Hiking trails.
This one couple were walking along the trail at Crater Lake, and all of a sudden her husband just started walking towards the edge, jumped off.
Jumped off
And killed
into the
himself.
lake.
Yeah, off the cliff.
Oh my goodness.
And then
Whoa.
she said that he was still alive at the bottom, but he crawled into the water and drowned himself. I don't understand that.
I don't know. I've never heard anything like that. That is, wow. I was talking to one of my acquaintances in the Bend area, Randy, and he was telling me that that area west of Crater Lake is known for some really aggressive Bigfoot encounters. So much so that the locals in that area will call it Badfoot instead of Bigfoot, which is really interesting. Have you guys heard anything down in that area?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I used to go fishing. I lived at Sutherland for a while, and I used to go fishing at Lamola Lake. And there was times my dog would cower around my feet while we were fishing there. And my dog was a big dog. He wasn't really afraid. So I'm figuring that it was probably something to do with that.
Yeah. I keep my eyes and ears open all the time when I'm in the woods now.
Well, my ears especially, because everything goes too silent.
Mhm.
There's something up.
Yeah, I usually have that feeling that something's around.
Oh yeah, I mean when I was out in the woods in Oak Ridge, like we experienced that extreme quiet multiple times, and it really messes with you. Like I wasn't able to handle it. It was too quiet.
You go, whoa,
It's really eerie.
there's something not right here.
Yeah.
It's like perfect silence. It's almost hurts your ears.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Then tinnitus kicks in.
That's true. Well,
Or good
unless you have that all the time
had-
anyways, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know it if it's totally
Yeah.
noise all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You hear a lot of things about this area. You hear a lot of sightings crossing the road. I don't think I've
Right.
heard a ton of aggressive encounters.
That I had was I was out on my back porch, which is enclosed with a big tarp all the way around it, and something was there. I could smell that stink like Tracy was talking about. And I was walking towards the edge of the tarp, and something smacked it really hard. It scared me, so I went in the house again.
Oh man.
And then I had all these trees out in my backyard just twisted into knots, into like a big nest. All my trees were twisted up.
How near your house was that?
About 30 feet.
Oh boy, that's too close.
Yeah, that was before I had my entire yard fence.
Yeah.
I need a fence.
Most of it is like a 6.5 foot fence, but some of it is only like a 4.5 foot fence, and that's the ones they walk over.
Right.
Yeah, mine doesn't have one at all.
Have either of you experienced any other interesting things you would relate to Bigfoot?
Give me time and I'll tell you more. It happens all the time around here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it'll keep happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's times I won't even want to take my dog out because I think there's something out there.
Mm.
Well, I hear things.
I hear them moaning and howling and hitting trees, and
Well, it's pretty bad when the coyotes quit yapping.
the coyotes follow them around.
I think they get out of their way a little bit, too.
Well,
because they'll quit. You'll hear that howl, and
I think
everything else
for leftovers.
Yeah. And I've heard tree knocks. It couldn't have
Big
been
loud
very far.
knocks right near us.
Yeah, you can almost feel the air moving. Like,
Well, it didn't help that I was knocking on the tree a little earlier, though.
oh, it was your fault.
You're getting him revved up. Okay. Wow.
Wasn't planning on it. I was just
Hey, buddy.
later on. I heard this bop really loud and right close to me.
Well, yeah, it's really eerie though to be out there at night because I'm home alone.
I know.
My stupid dog would probably hide behind me if there was really something wrong. And so, like, it's kind of spooky when you hear.
She lives
stuff.
across the road from me, but that's still quite a hop, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of sketchy knowing something's right there and you can't see it,
Right.
smell it. You can hear it, just like I don't know.
But you can really feel it more than anything.
Yeah, like I don't know, 30 yards from my house is where I
Watching
hear
it go
the.
in.
Well, that's where I hear the tree knocks from. Is probably that far away, probably 30 yards.
I'll usually walk
Yeah,
out to the front gate and then put my flashlight out.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
for eyeballs before I go out.
I've seen eyeballs.
And they're not on the ground. Like,
No, they're up high.
How high up would you
They're
say
not
they
deer,
are?
'cause the deer's are
too high.
too high.
Yeah, right. Too
Half
high.
feet,
Yeah,
6
I got
feet.
you.
You know,
Yeah.
around the tree, you know, that's
Their
not,
eyes are
that's not a deer.
yeah, they're like
And usually it's in her yard. I see it.
yeah, kind of goldy green color too.
Hmm.
Because our yards are filled with trees.
Yeah.
Now,
Goodness.
let me ask you this. So I talk to a lot of people about the Oak Ridge area, and every once in a while in the interviews, there'll be other weird stuff that comes out, and it's not Bigfoot related
Like
at all. I've had people say,
Aliens, orbs,
yeah, aliens.
UFOs, stuff like that.
I've heard that, but I've also heard things
There's-
like
that's weird.
fairies, gnomes, stuff like that.
Dog.
Oh, you've heard Dogman in this area?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, boy.
I haven't heard anything about them around here, but I've heard about them in other places.
Oh, okay, but not in this area. That's good.
Not in this area that I'm from, but who knows? You never know.
Mm,
Yeah,
I mean, anything can happen.
that's
a
true.
little bit of everything in Oregon.
But it is a it's
Yep.
it's
You never know.
the most beautiful area I've ever seen. But it is also the most weird area I've ever
Yeah, it
experienced. I don't know what it is, but
It's weird.
I do.
Well, it's funny you should say something about flying saucers, because right just behind Tracy's property, I see this thing going back and forth
It's like a red
all the time.
around.
And when I flash my light at it, it goes behind the trees.
I told you that I have that orb that rides with me in my car.
It's weird.
It rides with you.
And this thing is flashing all kinds of colors.
I took a picture of it. Remember, I told you I have that picture of it.
Sometimes I think they're involved, but I don't know.
I think that there's something to it because
I think they know each other.
crashed all my life.
yeah, they probably do know. Yeah, there you go. Let me ask you this. So you guys have experienced what we call Bigfoot multiple different times in this area. If you were to have to categorize it, would you categorize it as some kind of big monkey in the woods or some kind of human type creature, or how would you describe it?
I think it's like
I think it's a
a
very,
Indian of some sort.
I think it's a very
Big giant Indian,
intelligent,
but covered in hair.
very
Because
intelligent.
it's more human than it is ape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very intelligent.
They're aware and they know.
Very intelligent.
They speak.
Yeah.
Well, not in our worship, but they do have their own.
But I've heard
Yeah.
of people hearing French come out of them and Indian words come out of them. They've got to have picked up on some of it.
Oh yeah, or we picked up on something.
Is that from this
Yeah.
area?
I've heard of it all over the place.
Okay.
I
A
actually
lot of Canada.
the place I go camping all the time. I've actually heard voices and laughter and stuff coming from across the creek. Like you can tell it's like different voices, but there's no actual like you can't hear words like you would hear.
Just mumbling.
Yeah, it's just the sound of voices
Yeah.
and laughter and like. So I know they have a language.
They do.
I know they're very intelligent. or they would have been in a zoo by now. I would have to classify them.
They're very
intelligent wise
away
as a
from
man, you know, but their body is more primate, so they can handle the environment.
Right, more like a Neanderthal.
But yeah, but they have intelligence like we do, or more.
More. They live for the land, not to destroy it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like
yeah, that's great. It's a great way to put it.
Take
Actually,
what they need. They don't. Wait.
Well, that's why the Indians lived here for thousands and thousands of years.
They just took what they needed.
Yeah, and
that's why they got along with the Indians.
Exactly. That's why I don't really feel threatened by it, and I never have.
Tracy's part Indian.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Very cool. Very cool.
I've grown up out there too, and had them like just feet away from me like all the time.
I'm afraid to start giving them things, and I don't really want them hanging around my house.
I'll leave potatoes out for them or orange or something, but I've never had them actually raid my camp either. But it's like they know I'm sharing what I can share.
Yeah, but if they get used to it and then you stop, they're going to be mad.
They live there. I'm the one visiting.
Because then they think, oh, he's got 10 of them. I want 5.
That's funny. That's funny.
Never had any misfortune kind of events happen.
It's just, there's a lot of stuff that happens.
Throwing rocks down that hill at my son and I that time was the worst encounter, and it was short-lived, and we gave them their space. And
right, they're telling you easily with little rocks, and then as they get bigger, you want them to be.
Yeah, I leave them little rocks.
Did that happen in Gilchrist, Tracy?
I don't want no bigger.
No, that was over up out of Mapleton, up in the mountains.
Okay. Wow. Let me see.
More towards the Oregon coast.
Got it.
Yeah, Florence, and then Mapleton is just upriver from Florence.
Okay. Got it.
So you're where?
Where I grew up.
Iowa or Ohio?
Yeah, I'm in central Iowa, but I'm going out to Oregon again this year. I like going out there. It's fun. So
right.
But yes.
I hear they have that festival in great.
It's a good time. Yeah.
Every year. When does that take place?
I believe this year it is July 11th and 12th.
Maybe me and Tracy can head that way.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah, it's a great time. There's a lot of cool people there, and I mean everyone's into Bigfoot and the weird stuff. So a lot of crazy stuff happens, and it's a good time. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I had some friends that lived in Dexter, which is not too far from Oak Ridge.
Yep.
They had Bigfoot encounters there.
Oh, I would totally believe them because I've heard a few things from the Dexter area and the Fall Creek area, which is right over there. But yeah, that's a wild area as well.
I lived in Lorain.
Oh, did anything happen in Lorain when you were there?
Actually, this one night my trailer, one side of it was probably like one story off of the ground because it was on a hill. And so my living room window was probably like 7-8 feet off of the ground. And I was reading books to my kids in the living room floor one night, and I had my window open, and I looked over, and there was a hand and a face in my window.
Oh, wow. Did you grab the shotgun?
I jumped up and got my kids back and went and closed the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it had to have been pretty tall to be looking in my window like that. It just had his hand like rested on the edge of the window and looking in. But yeah, but my kids and I, like across the living room, we were only probably like 10 feet away, maybe. You know, it was spooky.
Yeah.
And then Gowdyville Road, I lived on the Lorain side and like 2 or 3 driveways up from the end of Gowdyville. And there's quite a few encounters that happened up on Gowdyville Road. And I'm pretty sure I encountered one. It was late though, it was dark. But I could hear something moving over in the brush, and my dog wouldn't get out of the car. And that was his pee spot on the way home from town. So he always got out there. But he was trembling and wouldn't get out. And so I'm pretty sure that was probably what that was.
Yeah, once you've seen these things, you know they're there.
Well, that's not far from Cottage Grove Lake either. Right over from Cottage Grove is Lorraine, right over the mountain. Gowdyville Road takes you over that mountain. And yeah,
thick stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, that's where I lived for a while. But that's where I had it was looking in my window. It freaked me out. Because it had to be really tall to be just like so nonchalantly, like hand up on the edge of the window, just looking in. It had to be pretty, like 8-9 feet tall at least.
That's freaky.
You know, we had talked about cottage.
Yeah, never a dull moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We had never talked. We talked about Cottage Grove a little bit earlier, and you know, I've been hearing a lot of weird stuff from that area. Also, Dorena Lake and Sharps Creek. Have you experienced any weird stuff down in that area as well?
No, but all of my family lives in that area, so I've had 2 uncles that were actually riding together. That it was at Culp Creek over at Cottage Grove.
Yep.
My aunt lived up there, and they were going to my aunt's house, and it was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock at night, they said. It was dark, but it ran across the road in front of the truck as they were going to my aunt. And that was on Culp Creek. My aunt and her husband, I'm not positive exactly where it was, because one of my uncles at the time lived in Lorraine, and they were on their way either to or from Cottage Grove from my uncle's place, and they had one on Cottage Grove Highway. They had to stop because it was crossing the road up at the top of it in the corners. They had to stop, and it went across the road right in front of the car.
Guys, it has been a fun time chatting with you tonight. Steve Sumter and Tracy Brooks, thank you both for coming on the podcast. Is there anything else you would want to make sure you share before we have the end of our conversation today?
Well, I have a question for you.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Have you ever seen one or had any encounters?
So that's a really good question. I had some weird stuff happen out in Oak Ridge last July. I did not have an actual sighting. I heard some.
But you knew there was.
I knew they were there. We got screamed and roared at by something out in the woods. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But I have not had an actual like face to face see something. I mean, I missed having it by about 5 hours because of when I came in through the airport. There was another group up there, and they saw one jump out of a tree. It was crazy. So,
well, I will send the pictures to you. I'll send them directly to your phone. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, you can do that, or my email, whatever's easiest for you, man. So, yeah, definitely.
Okay, no problem.
Cool. And yeah, Steve, thanks for reaching out, and Tracy, thanks for coming on as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Just want to take a few minutes to say thank you to you, all my listeners, for listening to the podcast. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. The Subtle Lake area of Oregon, Rainbow, Oregon, McKinsey Bridge area, Sweet Home, pretty much that entire area, the north part, if you get what I mean. I'll see you back next time, listeners. Sasquatch Summerfest this year, July 11th through the 12th. It's going to be fantastic. July 11th through 12th in Green Waters Park in Oak Ridge, Oregon. And Listeners, if you're going to go, you can get a 2-day ticket for the cost of one. If you use the code BFS, like Bigfoot Society, but BFS, and it'll get you some off your cost. Priscilla was nice enough to provide that for my listeners. So there you go. I look forward to seeing you there. So make sure you head over to www.sasquatchsummerfest.com and pick up your tickets today.